The snow started falling earlier than anyone expected. At first, it looked harmless. Soft white flakes drifted down from the sky, slow and quiet, like they were just visiting. The road was still visible. The trees stood calm. Everything felt normal enough. But winter had a way of lying. It often smiled before showing its teeth. They were driving back from a short trip, nothing special. Just a favor that turned into a long ride. The young man sat in the passenger seat, his hands tucked into the sleeves of his jacket. Beside him, his best friend's mother focused on the road. Her grip on the steering wheel was firm but relaxed. She had driven these roads many times before. Neither of them talked much at first. The radio played softly, then faded as the signal weakened. Outside, the world slowly turned white. The lines on the road began to disappear, one by one, like they were being erased. The young man glanced out the window. Snow covered the fields. Trees blurred together. The sky grew heavy and gray. "Do you think it'll get bad?" he asked, trying to sound casual. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes stayed forward. "It wasn't supposed to," she said finally. "But storms don't always listen." The wind picked up. Snow started falling faster, thicker. The car tires slipped just slightly, enough to be noticed. She slowed down. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. The road ahead looked empty. No other cars. No lights. Just white and gray stretching into the distance. The young man felt a tight feeling in his chest. Not panic yet. Just discomfort. Like the moment before you realize something is wrong. His phone buzzed once, then went silent. No signal, she noticed. No service? He nodded. "It's gone." She let out a slow breath. "Mine too." The heater hummed, but the air felt thinner somehow. The cold outside pressed against the car, quiet but patient. Then it happened. The tires slid. Not hard, not fast. Just enough to pull the car toward the side of the road. She turned the wheel carefully, trying to correct it. The car slowed, then stopped. They both sat still. She tried again. The engine responded, but the tires spun uselessly. Snow packed underneath. She stopped and rested her forehead against the steering wheel for a second. Not in fear, more in thought. "We're stuck," she said. The words landed heavy. The young man swallowed. He looked around. No houses, no buildings. Just snow and trees. The wind howled now, louder than before. "How bad is it?" he asked. She opened the door just a little, then closed it quickly as cold air rushed in. "Bad enough." They stayed in the car, hoping the storm might ease. But it didn't. The snow kept falling, faster now, like the sky was emptying itself all at once. Wind pushed against the car, rocking it gently. Time felt strange, slower, thicker. The heater started to struggle. The warm air turned weak. They both noticed. She checked the fuel gauge. It wasn't empty, but it wasn't full either. "We can't keep the heater on all night," she said quietly. The young man nodded, though his throat felt dry. "What do we do?" She looked out again. Then she pointed through the windshield. "There, that old service building. It's not far. We'll be safer inside." They grabbed what they could. A blanket from the back seat. A small bag. Their phones, even though they were useless now. The cold hit them hard as soon as they stepped outside. It felt sharp, like needles on skin. Snow blew sideways, stinging their faces. Each step felt heavier than the last. The building was small and old, maybe used years ago for road work. The door resisted, but opened with effort. Inside, it was dark, dusty, and freezing. But it was shelter. They shut the door behind them. The wind's roar soft, though it still found its way through cracks. The young man leaned against the wall, breathing hard. His hands shook, partly from cold, partly from nerves. She sat down slowly, wrapping the blanket around her shoulders. Her face looked tired now, older than before. Not weak, just human. I didn't think it would come to this, she said. He nodded. Me neither. They sat in silence for a while. The kind of silence that presses on your ears. Outside, the storm showed no sign of stopping. The cold crept in slowly. It settled into fingers, toes, bones. The young man rubbed his hands together, trying to keep feeling in them. She noticed. Here, she said, offering part of the blanket. He hesitated, then accepted Dot as they sat closer. The space between them felt smaller. Not uncomfortable, just unfamiliar. They talked to pass time. About small things at first. How the weather had changed over the years. How winters felt longer now. Then the talk turned quieter. Slower. Dot, she spoke about worries she rarely said out loud. About responsibility. About always having to be strong, even when she felt tired inside. He listened. Really listened. He realized he had never seen her like this before. Not just as someone's parent, but as a person with fears and doubts. He shared a little too. About feeling lost sometimes. About not knowing if he was doing enough with his life. About the pressure to grow up faster than he felt ready for. The cold deepened. Their breaths showed in the air now. He shivered. Harder this time. She looked at him, concern clear in her eyes. We have to stay warm, she said. That's important. He nodded. I know. They adjusted the blanket, sitting closer, backs against the wall. Not touching much. Just enough to share warmth. Dot outside. The storm screamed. Time passed. Or maybe it didn't. It was hard to tell. Dot, the young man's thoughts wandered. He thought about how quickly things could change. One normal drive. One wrong forecast. Now this. He wondered if anyone knew where they were. He didn't say it out loud, but fear sat heavy in his stomach. Dot, she seemed to sense it. We'll be okay, she said softly. We just have to get through the night. He wanted to believe her. The building creaked as wind pushed against it. Snow piled up outside, blocking light, blocking sound. The heater from the car was far away now. The warmth it once gave felt like a memory. Dot, his hands were numb. His feet hurt. Dot, she pulled the blanket tighter around both of them. Stay awake, she said gently. Just talk to me. He nodded. Okay, they kept talking. About memories. About moments that mattered. About small joys people often forget. The storm didn't care. Hours passed. The cold grew cruel. Dot, at some point, he realized his shivering had slowed. That scared him more than the cold itself. She noticed too. Her voice sharpened with worry. Hey, don't fall asleep. I'm not, he said. Though his eyelids felt heavy. Dot, she shifted closer, trying to share more warmth. Dot, the wind howled louder. Like it was angry they were still holding on. The night stretched on. The young man stared at the dark ceiling. His thoughts blurred. He felt tired in a deep, heavy way. The last thing he noticed was how quiet everything suddenly felt inside the building. Dot, too. Quiet. He tried to move his fingers. They barely responded. Dot, outside. The storm continued without mercy, and inside that small, cold shelter, the night was far from over. The silence inside the building felt heavy, like it was pressing down on them. Dot, the young man's eyes opened slowly. At first, he wasn't sure where he was. Everything felt distant, like his body was there, but his mind had stepped away for a moment. The cold was still there, sharp and biting, but something else pulled him back. A voice. Dot, soft, steady, worried. Hey. Stay with me, she said. He blinked and focused. The dim light filtered through a crack in the wall. The storm outside still raged, but it sounded farther away now, like it had moved just enough to give them space to breathe. I'm here, he whispered. Relief washed over her face. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a deep breath she had been holding too long. Good, she said. I was getting scared. He tried to move his hands again. They felt stiff, but this time they responded. Slowly, painfully, but they moved. That's better, she said, watching closely. Just keep moving. Small movements. It helps. He nodded and did as she said. His muscles protested, but he pushed through. Each movement reminded him he was still alive, still fighting. She adjusted the blanket again, wrapping it tighter around both of them. Her hands were cold too. He noticed that now. She wasn't just helping him. She was enduring the same thing. You should rest, he said quietly. You've been awake longer than me. She shook her head. Later, right now, I need to make sure you're okay. That simple sentence carried weight. It wasn't said like a duty. It sounded like care. Like she meant it. They sat like that for a while, not talking much. Just breathing, listening to the wind, letting their bodies find a rhythm again. The storm slowly changed its sound. It was still loud, but less angry, less wild. Like it was tiring itself out. The young man noticed it first. It sounds different, he said. She listened, then nodded. You're right. I think it's slowing down. Hope crept in quietly. Not bold, not confident. Just a small light flickering in the dark. They talked again, this time about the future. Not big dreams. Just simple things. Warm food, a hot drink. The feeling of a normal day. I used to think I had everything figured out, she said after a while. Life teaches you otherwise. He smiled faintly. I still think that sometimes. That I should know what I'm doing by now. She looked at him kindly. Most people don't. They just learn how to keep going. The words stayed with him. The night dragged on, but it didn't feel endless anymore. Every hour passed felt like a small victory dot at some point. Exhaustion caught up with her. Her head leaned against the wall. Her eyes closed just for a moment. He noticed. Hey, he said softly. Stay awake. She smiled without opening her eyes. Just resting them. He shifted slightly, offering his shoulder. Not saying anything. Just being there. She hesitated, then leaned into it. They shared warmth in the quietest way. No words, no tension. Just two people helping each other survive. Outside, the storm finally began to loosen its grip. The wind softened. The snow fell slower. Light began to change. Very faint at first. A pale gray replacing the deep dark morning. The young man noticed. It and felt something rise in his chest. Relief, gratitude, disbelief. She's waking up, he said gently. She opened her eyes and followed his gaze to the small crack of light. We made it, she whispered. They didn't celebrate. They didn't move much. They just sat there and let the moment settle. After a while, they heard it. A sound that didn't belong to the storm. An engine. They froze, listening. It came again. Louder this time. Do you hear that? He asked. She nodded, eyes wide. Yes. Hope turned real. She stood carefully, joints stiff, legs shaky. He followed. They moved toward the door, pushing it open with effort. Snow had piled high, but daylight broke through. She waved the blanket. He shouted, his voice rough but strong. The engine grew closer. A rescue vehicle appeared through the thinning snow. Moving slow but steady, they were seen. Help arrived. Later, wrapped in warmth, given water. Checked over carefully, the world felt unreal. Too bright. Too normal. As they sat in the vehicle, heading back towards safety. Neither spoke much. There was nothing left to explain. When they finally reached a warm place, surrounded by people, noise, and movement, the young man looked at her. Thank you, he said. She met his eyes. We helped each other, and that was the truth. Days later, life returned to its usual pace. Roads reopened. Snow melted. People forgot the storm, but he didn't. He carried something new with him now. A deeper understanding of fear, of care, of quiet strength. He learned that survival wasn't just about heat or shelter. It was about staying present, about looking after someone when it would be easier to give up. Some storms pass quickly, others stay with you, not as fear, but as a reminder of what it means to be human.